Hello. Yay. Eddie, how are you? How are you, gorgeous? So good to see you. Can't wait to see you soon. Hopefully this is gonna work fine. Yay!
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. It's good to finally meet you, like I should be able to see you as opposed to like Instagram or DMing or email.
Yeah, exactly. And I've watched you do so many of these interviews with other people, so I'm honored to get to do
Oh
it
no,
myself. Thank you.
thank you so much for doing it. So before we get started, why don't you introduce everyone to you and where you're at and all that good
Okay.
stuff.
All right.
And
Well,
of course what you're wearing.
well, right. Yeah, we will start there. Let me show you. I've got
Oh, you're wearing the outfit. Yeah.
I mean, you've got to work the merch, right?
Yes, yes.
It's
It looks
perfect
so
for a
good on
day
you.
of painting at the art studio. Anyway, my name's Paul Richmond. I am in Monterey, California. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a visual artist. I do primarily oil paintings, but I also do digital art, illustration work, all kinds of stuff. And I got to know you guys because of the figure drawing classes I've been doing
Yes.
online with my friend Bryden, who you've interviewed before. So,
Yes. Yes. I think the pandemic has been hard on people, and as we all
oh my
know, and
gosh, yes.
we're still in it. But one of the great things have been meeting people like yourself and Biden and collaborating, and
Yes.
it's good because everyone has been so amazing, and it's been so great to hear people's stories like we're going to do today
Yeah,
with you.
exactly. In some
But
ways,
thank
I
you
do.
so
I
much.
feel I feel more connected with a lot of my, especially a lot of my artist friends who are,
Yeah,
a lot of them are maybe more introverted or spend more time at home in their studio anyway. So now we have more of a reason to really reach out and, Zoom with each
absolutely.
other and do all that kind of stuff. So this is great.
Absolutely. But no, I mean, it was so great. It was so great having you guys do the figure drawing class with and play out and wearing the stuff and promoting it. So definitely thank you
Oh, and
for
I do. I
that.
really
And
love it. I wear it all the time. So you guys,
oh,
I
yay!
love your mission. I love everything that you all stand for. So genuinely, I'm really, really grateful
Oh,
to you for what you're doing.
thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we're a small team, but it keeps us going because it's a
You know
hard.
what though? I
It's
tell you,
hard.
I've worked for big businesses and I've done a lot with small independent, and I think small independent is the way to go. You can
Well,
get more
yeah,
done and do cooler things. So it's an
absolutely,
advantage.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But enough about us.
Okay. Back to
It
me.
was very. I mean, I came across your post. Was it Sober Babe? Is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sober babes.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
so I came across it, and it was nice that you were so open and honest, and then also, and so I just wanted to reach out and to learn more and talk because I feel like I kind of know you,
Right.
but I thought this is a good way to get to know you, and for
Yeah.
you to share your journey because I think it could definitely help folks, especially during this time where I'm sure there's a lot of triggering things that can are happening. I would love to talk to you about that as well.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, so why don't I'll shut up and let you
Okay.
let you start.
Well, and I appreciate you asking me about that too, because normally when people have me on things, it's always they want to know like, why do you make such gay artwork? And so it's kind of nice to get to talk about. We can talk about that too if you want, but it's nice to get to talk about something else too.
Well, we can fit that in.
We can work that in somewhere. But yeah, I let's see. It's been about a year and a half since I quit drinking, and I feel better, happier. More just in touch with my body, myself, connected with the world as a result of that. The
Yeah.
reason there were a number of reasons, but I think like a lot of queer people, especially, when we first kind of find our way into the community,
Mm.
especially back when
Yeah.
I first did, all of
Yeah.
the places to go to really connect with with other people are bars and
Bars,
nightclubs and
yeah.
drinking, and everything revolves around drinking. And you
Hmm.
still see that now when you go to Pride and things. It's all, everything's
Yes,
sponsored by alcohol companies and different
yeah.
things. And nothing against any of that. I mean, there are a lot of people that works fine for, and that's okay. But for me, it was just becoming, I was feeling too dependent on it. And
Mm.
there has been a lot of alcoholism in my family. My dad passed away a couple of years ago, and alcohol was
Oh,
a direct factor there.
wow.
My uncle also. And so as I just started to notice some of
Mm.
those same trends in myself, I'd be out with friends, and for every one drink they would have, I would drink two or three. And I just didn't like where it was heading. So for me, it was, early enough in the process that it really, it wasn't terribly hard to stop.
Mm.
But I was at a friend's house and got way overserved and ended up passing out in the bathroom. Here's the full story. And the next morning, I just said, I do not want to do this again. I do not want this to
Wow.
be my life. And I,
Yeah.
it was very fresh in my mind what happened with my dad, and I didn't want that to happen. So I just said, I'm not
Mm.
doing this anymore. The hardest part, I think, is that, drinking is at the center of so much. And where I live, there are wineries everywhere. So all of the social gatherings are
Yeah.
like at wine tastings or different things. So now I just drink my kombucha in a wine glass and join the party. And I feel better. I think that it's a myth that you have to, um, that you have to drink in order to enjoy yourself, or that you have to
Yeah.
rely on some kind of substance in order to be, engaged in a social situation. I have more fun now. I feel less tired, and I definitely have less regrets the next day. So if for other people who might be watching, I would just say, you have to look inward and make these decisions and choose what's right for you. But I can tell you that
Yeah.
I do not feel like I am missing out on anything. And if I could rewind the past 20 years and remove alcohol even earlier, I would do that.
Wow. And so what year did you stop?
It was, let's see, a year and a half ago. So I guess it would have been 2019, which
Okay.
was, interesting going into the pandemic because,
Like, yeah.
like you were saying earlier, you're kind of
Yeah.
looking for every kind of comfort that you can right now.
Absolutely. And I think for myself, like recently I was just kind of like, you need to like stop drinking at some point, like just kind of like slow down.
Yeah.
Because it was just kind of like I had nothing else to do.
Right,
And
for real.
it was,
I got a dog. That was
and
my solution. So instead of drinking, I just play with my dog now. It's much better.
yeah. Um, and I think also, in the beginning, it was like, no, I'll just have a beer. Um, and then the other reason, which is probably, just for superficial reasons, was like, I was just like, I didn't want to look like I was pregnant anymore. Like, I was
Well,
like,
right,
my
yeah,
clothes
no,
don't fit.
I get that too. I mean, hey, if that helps motivate somebody, that's great. I do feel like my skin looks better.
Yeah.
I feel healthier. It really has improved my quality of life a lot. And now
Yeah.
my husband drinks, and he not he's able to do it in moderation. It's not a problem, so
Yeah.
he's perfectly happy, and we have wine here. So for us, that works just fine. And I can even go to wine tastings and things with him and just,
And not
have
feel
my,
like you need to.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I do
Did,
certainly understand. I mean, I have a lot of friends who, were, maybe more, became more kind of addicted to alcohol, where
yes.
even being in that setting would be too much of a
Yeah.
trigger for them. So it's really a
Yeah,
personal
no,
thing.
definitely. I think, I mean, this has been last year, and it feels like it's pretty much has carried over into
Hmm.
spilled over into this year.
I know,
Um,
right?
there's,
We're
it's
ready for
definitely
something
been,
new. Come on.
yes. But we had it for a moment. It was like, Trump is gone, and then right at the Capitol, it was like, come on, can we just have a moment?
I
Um,
know.
but definitely, I mean, everyone copes with things differently. And
Yeah.
so, I'm sure the rise of alcohol like intake has been through the roof during this time.
Oh yeah. Well, and
Um,
what's interesting for me too as an artist, I found that, just psychologically, I was feeling sort of dependent on, mind altering stuff
Yes.
for my
Yeah.
creative process, or to feel like
Yes.
I could go to, you know, an art show and just be really relaxed and, you know, have
Well,
fun
it's kind of,
and
yes. And there's
totally.
always, especially like all the events that, you kind of go to where it's kind of there's a kind of thing to do, like to create, you're working late hours, you have a glass of wine, you're just kind of like fuel your creative energy. So it does definitely go hand in hand. Have
Yeah.
there, through your journey, like through your beginning part of your journey, was there times where you had moments of like feeling like, okay, I can't do this, or I can't stop, or were you able to kind of,
I mean, there were definitely times where I really wanted it, where
mhm,
I would,
yeah.
you know, crave it, or feel like I needed it for different reasons. But I
Mhm.
think, you know, it was really about me learning how to recognize that, you know, the creative spirit that is inside of me has absolutely nothing to do with any kind of substance that I might be adding on top.
Yeah.
You know, if I am getting in my own way, there are other paths to, you know, part through that in order to you know, feel creative, or in order to feel comfortable in a group, or whatever it might be. I mean, I'm pretty outgoing anyway, so that part really wasn't too much of an issue. But
Mm.
just, you know, whatever is inside of me that makes me who I am, is, it does not require other substances to access. I can
Yeah.
find a way to get there without it.
Yeah. Well, it definitely takes a lot of like strength, like, and bravery to like realize that you have a problem and to be willing to
Yeah.
act on it and be strong enough to kind of, do it
Yeah.
and
You know,
realize,
I think that it's, I think, I wish, one of my biggest regrets is that I had not been able to, you know, get through to the people in my family and in my life who were
mm,
too kind of swept up into it already. And as much as we tried, like, I just look back and I just wish, you know, could I have done more? Could I have said something more
yeah,
to try and help them? Because, you know, I just love these people, you know, my dad especially, I just love him so much. And to see that happen,
yeah,
it was heartbreaking. And so I think it just was
yeah,
a real, for me, it was a real wake up call. And it was, I did not want that to happen for myself. And I don't want that
no,
to happen to anybody. It's
yeah.
such a
But I mean,
waste.
that's what's great that why you sharing your story, because I think, again, if it just reached 1%, then that's enough. If one
Yeah.
person, can feel like they can relate or see themselves in you and understand where you're coming from, then
Yeah. I
that's
hope
good.
so. I hope
It's a
so, you
great
know, and
thing.
I'm not judgy about it. I have lots of friends who drink and they can handle it just fine. And I think that's awesome, you know, and I love
Yeah,
hanging out with them. Like I said, I've
but
got
you
my
can be that.
kombucha. I'm ready to party too.
You're gonna need to get like a kombucha like sponsorship.
Yeah, you're gonna see that next month. Our figure drawing workshop sponsored by kombucha.
Yeah, because I think we should do like a word count. Because I think you said it a lot, so that could be like how much money like
I know
every
I'm
time you
not
say
even getting
kombucha.
anything for it. They need to step it up.
They need to say exactly,
It's really
exactly. Well, I mean,
delicious
I think
though.
you could definitely be there for your friends and be there for because I think we all especially during this time we all need community. Like
Oh
community
yeah.
is even more so now.
Yes,
So
for sure.
and having people who can be in your corner and be there for you and kind of help you kind of cope through all the
Yes.
craziness.
And I feel like
It's
I can
great.
be a better friend now that I'm actually more aware of what's happening around me. You know,
Yeah,
when you're completely wasted, you're oblivious. And I feel like
yeah,
I enjoy my friendships, my relationships so much more without all of that stuff.
yeah. Is there? I know you mentioned that you learned that you didn't need to uh, you know exist and have alcohol, on a daily basis or like whenever just to have a good time or to even create art. Was there anything else that surprised you or that you learned about yourself during your journey? Or the beginning of
Um,
your journey or the start of your journey?
I think that um, one of the things that I learned when I quit drinking is how much more kind of natural energy I have. I didn't
Mm,
realize how it was really kind of dragging me down. You know, drinking, when you drink a lot, you know, for me, it would actually make me really kind of tired and worn out and not really so much fun. So
Mhm.
I think one of the things that I've learned is that without that, I mean, I'm a blast. I like myself more. I like being around me
Yeah,
than I like being
yeah.
around other people. Um, so I feel like, you know, so much of life is about uh, just learning who you are and getting comfortable with that. And
Mhm.
you know, for me, getting rid of alcohol has just been another step in that process, because for me, it was almost like something that I felt like I needed in order to be the best version of myself, but actually the best version of
Yeah,
myself exists without it. And so
yeah,
I guess just,
yeah,
you know, as queer people, we go through so much to learn who we are and to accept who we are and to accept each
yeah,
other. And the last thing I want to do is to be, you know, taking in substances that are going to diminish that, because
yeah,
I'm finally very happy with who I am and I want to show that off and I want to be here a long time. So that for me, it's just about really like another step of self-acceptance and realizing that I'm good as I am. I don't need any of that.
yeah. Um, and you were married, obviously, at the same when you decided. And what was that conversation like? When you decided to
My
stop?
husband, he's a wonderful guy. We've been together for 15 years. His name's
Oh
Dennis.
wow,
We've been
that's like that's like
married
a
for
billion
six.
years in gay
I know.
years.
I'm old. I'm
It's
old. I
always
don't know
like
if
gay
I'm
years is
wise,
always
but
like
I'm
dog
old.
years. It's always
I'm
double.
40. I turned 40 last year.
You
But
look amazing.
it's because of the play out apparel. But he's, you know, very responsible drinker, and he has a very
Yeah,
stressful job. He's a nurse practitioner, so for him, you know, it's really nice to come
yeah.
home and relax with a glass of wine. And when we moved, we both lived in Ohio our whole lives and moved to California in 2016. And so now, as soon as we moved out here, we started going to all these, you know, wineries, wine tastings and stuff.
Hmm.
And we had this really bad habit of going to a wine tasting, getting a little wasted, and then joining the wine club. So now we just have like all these shipments of wine that keep showing up at our house every month. So much wine, we could open our own winery. So I think my husband's
I will
first
DM
reaction, yeah,
I will
come
DM
over.
you my
Anybody who drinks, just come on over because we've got plenty.
I'll DM you my address later.
Yes, we'll just have it forwarded. So I think his first reaction was like, well, shit, what are we going to do with all of this?
Yeah.
But no, he's been so
So
supportive. And,
yeah,
you know,
that's great.
he saw how it was affecting me. And of course, he was there with me with the whole situation with, you know, my family and everything. So, you know, he thinks it's a good thing.
Yes. Yeah, me and Eddie will take the wine.
Yeah, okay, I'll send it to you. There's some great, I mean, it's awesome.
So you were saying that you realized that you didn't need to create your art you know, under any influencer at all. And so how has your art evolved being sober?
I feel more focused, more intentional. I've had so many just really incredible opportunities come along. And I don't know that
Mhm.
it's all necessarily, you know, connected to stopping drinking, but at the same time, I mean, it certainly hasn't hurt anything. When
Yeah.
I'm in my studio, I feel very focused and very just present. And I've had, you know, some really great experiences. But even during this past year being in quarantine, I got to do commission paintings for Troye Sivan, who's one of my favorite, you know,
Oh wow.
musicians. And I got to do my absolute hero in life is Dolly Parton. And I got
Oh,
she
yes.
hired me to make a painting for her living room.
Get out of here.
And I got to drive it to her house just a couple months ago and hang it up in her living room. It was a
Did
dream
you
come
meet
true.
her?
What's that?
Did you meet her?
No, she was not there. So she was in Nashville,
Okay.
and this was at her home in LA. But she's
Gotcha.
getting ready to come out to LA for some stuff. So, but I got to drive down to Dolly's house. Like, who gets to do
Oh my God.
that?
I went to Dollywood when I was a kid, at one point, and like when people ask you a question of like if you can have like anyone over for a dinner party, like Dolly
Yes.
Parton is definitely on my list.
Oh my
Like
gosh, wouldn't that be
there's something
amazing?
about her that is just like you're so loving, and like usually I'm always like a little, when it comes to folks from the South, I'm always like,
I know,
eh.
right? Yeah, you got to be a little leery. She's one
But
of the good ones.
she's one of the good ones, and I love her. I just read, and every time I read something about her, I just love her even more.
Yeah.
But I just read that she turned down like getting an award because Trump was
Yes, I
president.
heard that too, and I totally believe it. You know what was so
Yeah.
interesting? She's so um, over the top, you know, with her look and everything.
Yes.
And when I went to her house, I was kind of expecting it to be like, you know, I thought it was going to be like Barbie's dream house on steroids. I was expecting this big pink mansion and everything, leopard print, and you know, I don't know. Maybe that's what I want my house to be like.
Yes.
But it was just this quaint little like Spanish style house in a cute
Wow.
neighborhood, nothing over the top. There was not a single award anywhere. I thought, oh, maybe I'll get to see what a Grammy looks like in person, but no,
Oh
nothing. It
wow.
was
Just
just
like very like.
so chill.
See, that
So
makes
like,
me love her even more.
yeah, me too. Because she could buy the whole block, but the guy who was there, who works for her, said that because of how she grew up in this tiny little house with all these siblings and stuff, that she's actually more comfortable in small little places. So that's all
Oh
she wanted.
really?
Yeah, I just thought, oh,
Oh
our Dolly, she's just fabulous. But that was a dream come true, you know, and I think that
yeah.
it's exciting for me as somebody who has been making art now. I graduated from art school about 18 years ago, and to be able to wake up every day and come into my studio and be really excited still about what I'm doing
Yeah.
and to have new opportunities come along. I'm so grateful that I get to do this,
That's
and I want to do
amazing.
everything I can to take care of myself and my body so that I can keep
Hmm.
doing it a long time.
And then that you're present for it, like you can remember,
Yeah.
like
Oh
you'll
no,
always remember
exactly. Yes,
being,
because I've had
being
art
at
shows in
Dolly's
the
house.
past where I see
Yeah.
photos from the receptions and stuff, and I'm like, I don't even remember that. So it's much better
Yeah.
now. I can remember and really
Okay. Yeah.
appreciate what's happening.
Yeah. And then, I mean, because being an artist or being a creative, like you have to kind of, it's all about networking and being on point and you got to hustle, you
You
know?
do, and I'm
Um,
shameless about it, but I love that too. I mean, I
yeah.
love coming into my studio and just, you know, literally like I'll be wearing this. I'll come into my studio and be wearing, you know, my play out underwear because it's here in my home, so it doesn't matter. And I can just be by myself and paint and not think about anything. Whenever I'm making art,
Yeah.
it's for me. I'm not worried about what other people think about it. But then I also really enjoy getting to go out and share it with people and talk about it. And I've
Hmm.
learned how, you know, art is it's more than just a pretty picture that someone hangs on
Yeah.
their wall. It's a way of communicating and
Yes.
inspiring people. I did a painting of Bryden. Bryden is my friend who you guys have interviewed, and we do the
Yeah.
redrawing masculinity together. And Bryden is this incredible trans activist, and I did a painting of him for a show a few years ago. It was at an art museum, and the one of the women from the board at the art museum asked me. She saw the painting, and it was on the invitation. And her grandson, who was a teenager and had just come out as trans, saw the
Wow.
postcard, and it was kind of in a smaller town, and he didn't really have connections with other trans people. But just by seeing the painting, and even though there was nothing overt in the painting that said like this is a
Hmm.
transgender person, like the message came through, and he got it, and he
Yeah.
wanted to come to the show and see the painting and meet me. And Bryden actually was attending the reception too, and it was the most incredible thing
Wow.
to
That's amazing.
just be there at my, you know,
Yeah.
reception at this art museum, and to look over and see this young, you know, kid who was just starting out on this journey, sitting on a
Hmm.
bench next to Bryden, who's already gone through so much and who's so comfortable in his skin, and to see
Yeah.
them connecting with each other through the artwork. And I just felt like that's what I want to do. That's what I want my
Yeah.
art to be about. I want it to help, you know, start conversations and hopefully, you know, inspire empathy and connection. That's for me, that's like the most you can aspire to.
Yes, and we need more of that.
We do.
And we need more of, we need more of people like listening and understanding and respecting each other.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why, we started doing the IG lives just for just at the start of the pandemic, and we kept
Hmm.
on doing them, and then we just felt like we want to continue to do them because we were able to talk talk about so many like great things and important things that I feel like we need to start having these conversations.
Oh yeah, and I really appreciate the diversity of people that you interview and who model
Oh,
your
yeah.
stuff. And for me, that's been, you know, a learning experience throughout my career because I came out of the closet kind of late, especially compared to what people are doing now. Um,
Yeah.
because I was in this very conservative environment in the Midwest, I didn't come out until after I had already graduated from college. And when I did come out, all of the people that I was seeing represented in queer media at that time looked like me. You know,
Mm.
in my early 20s, they were everybody in the magazines and websites and stuff. They were all skinny. They were blonde and, you
Yes.
know, white, gay,
Yes.
cisgender men who all liked Madonna. And so for me, I'm like, well, I can check all those boxes, so I guess I belong here. And at first, it did not occur to me, what would this feel like for somebody who was coming out and not
Yeah.
seeing themselves
Yes.
anywhere? You know, that's
And yeah,
horrible.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And E had mentioned that in a recent live, and I think it's something that we all can kind of relate to, like especially being older.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like thinking about like if we had more time, if we saw representation growing up, and we can start to be comfortable in our own skin at an early age, like would we
Yes.
have had so many drinks? Would we have been
Right.
trying to find love in all the wrong places, or would we have tried to thinking that we need to be this perfect gay body, have this perfect
Yes.
gay be this perfect gay man with this like hot body and all of these
Yeah.
things? Like would we have grown up so differently or been so different?
Yeah.
um
Yeah. It's so important. And I think for
yeah,
me as an artist, once I became aware of that, then it became so important to me to try to connect with the most diverse people possible and represent them in my artwork, and not in a way where I'm trying to, you know, appropriate their story or say that
yeah,
I, you know, am telling somebody else's story. But for me, it's actually about just um, feeling empathy for another human being, looking for the things that we have in common, and then also learning from them.
mhm,
Because I think all of us are continuing to learn. Our understandings of gender and sexuality are continually evolving. And I think that's a beautiful thing because
yeah.
we are so much more complicated than we ever realized. And
Yeah,
you know, we should be celebrating that, and we should be, you know, spotlighting that and showcasing that.
yeah.
So for me, that's really important. And in my artwork and in my life, I just want that to be front and center. I want people of every background growing up to be able to look out and see television shows, books, you know, movies, characters that represent them. I've been really lucky to work with a queer publishing company, and I've illustrated the
Nice.
book covers for over 400 books. A lot of them are young adult
Oh
books, and
wow.
they're all LGBTQ, a lot of different genres. But we donate the books to schools and libraries and places so
Oh,
that, you know, I
amazing.
don't want there to be some other young kid in the middle of Ohio like me who was 18 years old before I even knew what gay meant, let alone any of the other
Yeah.
letters. It's not okay anymore. We have to change that.
We definitely do. And I think, I think there's so many young folks who are just really owning who they are, and and they're being loud about it, and it's inspiring, and
It is.
it's something that is definitely it's needed. And so it's nice to see that they're able to do that and to be so aware at such a young age
Yeah.
is amazing.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. I started about let's see, in 2011. I started this anti-bullying project because, like a lot of queer people, I was bullied badly as a kid.
Mm,
And so it's called the You Will Rise Project. And we do workshops
mm,
and exhibits where we work with young people who have experienced bullying in one form or another, and we have them make artwork about it. And then we display the work in the community so people can learn,
okay.
you know, from their story. And so for me, having the opportunity to be around all of these young people who are just, you know, maybe starting out in the workshops or in the, you know, experiences, they're more reserved because they've been sort of trained to be afraid of
Mhm.
social situations and stuff. But then once they realize that there are other people like them and it's okay, they really start to own who they
Yeah.
are, and you see those transformations in young people, and it inspires me. It makes me want to,
Yeah.
like, figure more out about
Mhm.
myself.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, Play Out um, has been such a education.
Yes.
And so it's been, like in a past life, I've worked for nonprofits before, and then I kind of left that world. And so coming back, of course, the community has changed so much,
Right.
and so like now it's kind of relearning everything.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
the alphabet got longer,
I know. I love that.
so
We have different
and
flags. We have more
different
varieties of flags.
flags.
To me, that it's all good. It's wonderful,
Yeah,
and I
no,
know that,
absolutely.
like, change is hard for people. In like, I understand that too, and I mean, just for myself, growing up, the word queer was the most, negative word I could ever imagine someone calling me, and I was called that all the time. And now, like,
Yes,
that is our word, that many people
we took it
use,
back.
including myself. But that was the
Yeah.
transition that I had to make myself. Like, okay, I'm going to reframe this now, and I'm good. But it's interesting, and I feel like, you know, just because people of my generation or people of the generation before me helped to push the bar so far, it doesn't mean that's where it
Mhm.
should stop. We have to keep going. Like,
Yeah, we got to
we've
keep.
opened
Yeah,
the door a little bit, but there's still so much
yeah.
further to go.
We have so much. We have so much work to do, and um, we have to protect our trans folks. Like we have to,
Yeah,
like it's non-negotiable.
right. That has to be
And so
front and center.
we have so
Absolutely.
many what?
That has to be front and center.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something that we need to really rally.
I have a young transgender nephew who just started at the art
Ah,
school that I went
wow.
to, and I'm just so proud of him. I'm sure he's not watching. This would probably be so embarrassing to see his uncle doing this, but anyway, I just think, he grew up in an even smaller town than me, like this little coal
Wow.
mining town in eastern Ohio, and he's come out as trans. He started college. His family's totally supportive,
Wow.
and it's just such a inspiring thing to see. It's a different world than what I could have imagined when I was his
Yeah.
age, and I just want that to keep evolving and be the norm for everybody. People shouldn't
Yeah.
even have to come out. We have to stop making assumptions about who somebody is until they
Yes.
freaking decide that they want to tell you.
Absolutely. Yes. I can't, especially because of my friend John and his boyfriend Omar. Every time I say absolutely, I try to say it normal, but I always want to say like a G or gun, G or gun boy from Drag Race. So it's like every time I say the word, I start to giggle because I want to be like absolutely, but
I just saw that it's I don't know what anniversary it is of when that show started, Drag Race, like 12 years or something crazy like that. But I remember that was one of the very first art exhibits that I participated in. The people who own World of Wonder, which is the production company that does the
oh
RuPaul's
yes,
Drag
yes.
Race, they owned an art gallery in LA, and they were doing a
Oh wow.
show. Kind of, the show was called Drag Race, and it was before the first season aired, and they wanted
Oh wow.
artists to do paintings, inspired by drag. So I did
Oh
a
nice.
painting of myself from the back looking in a mirror, and then in the reflection of the mirror was Cher, because that was one of my icons growing up. And that painting got into the show. RuPaul curated the show and was there at the opening and stuff. And I just remember that was right before the first season aired. So it's crazy to think how much
Wow.
has changed since then. I
Yeah.
mean, it's become such a mainstream thing now, which is, like both good and bad, I think, in different ways. But
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah. It's entertaining.
It is.
And the queens are they're super talented. So
Yeah.
it's fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Well, that could lead me to my next question. So you mentioned earlier about how now being sober and I don't know, has your art become more gay sober, or has it always been very
My
gay?
art's always been super gay. Well, it's interesting though. There's a story there. Like any question you ask me, there's a story. I've got a lot of them. But when
I know we're gonna be turning into those, like, it's like picture it Sicily, like,
right, exactly.
like we're gonna, it's
We
like
just do this
I
all
always
night, right?
wonder,
Come
like,
on, man.
how do you like just morph into that like old person? But it's happening. I find myself constantly, having a story for everything and having,
Yeah.
like,
I
let
think
me
like
tell you,
as we
you
get
don't know
older, we
nothing
just have.
about nothing. Let me tell you what happened. It's like, oh God, I'm turning into that.
Yep.
I gotta
We're
shake it off.
as we age, we're supposed to be like wise and we're supposed to have lots of stories. So I'm trying.
Yeah, yeah,
but
exactly,
but
exactly. But
I just know that like, when I was in college and I was still in the closet, it was completely impossible for me to find my voice as an artist. I was kind of learning techniques and stuff, but I didn't make a single painting in college that really expressed much of anything about myself because I didn't know who I was yet. So for me, the process of coming out was so connected with, finding my voice and what I have to say in my work. And for that first year, I had come out to some friends, but not my family. And, there was a lot of homophobia there. And so I was, it took me a while. And so for a period of time, for about a year, I was making all these paintings that kind of dealt with coming out and exploring and figuring out who I was, but I didn't want anybody to see them. So when I finished the painting, I would take them off the stretchers and roll them up and put them, ironically enough, in the closet again. And that the process of painting them was very therapeutic, and it was important for me to do that. But then eventually, my good friend Melissa saw some of them and she said, Paul, you've got to, put these in some art shows. People are really going to connect with this work. And I didn't even believe her at first. I thought they were so personal. Why would anybody else care about this? This is just
Yeah.
me like processing my own shit. But she was right, and I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. When you're kind of genuine with your artwork, it becomes more than just a pretty picture. It's about
Yeah.
communication, and it opens up a lot of pathways where you can really connect with people. So that has kind of been just the guiding force behind everything I do. I try to be as genuine as possible, and so a lot of my work deals with my experiences as a queer person and my opinions and feelings about different things that are happening politically and socially. And it's interesting because in my career, I also do work that is very, I guess you could say more mainstream or more, that's not centered around those themes. And so I've worked with a lot of galleries and art dealers and agents and people like that who have tried to convince me so many times that I need to have like an alias for my gay work, my queer
I'm
work,
sure.
and I need to have a different name for my mainstream work, because they say when somebody goes into an art gallery and they're considering buying a painting, the first thing they do is Google that artist name. And for me, if you Google my name, you're going to get like the gayest of the gay stuff. And so they said that's really going to deter a lot of people. And my feeling about it has always been, that's too bad. If somebody's going to
Yeah.
not buy a painting just because I've done
Amen.
some other paintings that they don't like, I don't want them to
Yeah.
own anything of mine. They can go buy
Yeah.
something else.
Good for
So
you. Good for you.
I think I've missed out
'Cause I
on
mean,
some
there is
stuff
that.
because of that philosophy. I definitely have, I know for sure that there have been opportunities that I could have had if I had
Absolutely.
taken their advice, but I'm happier
Yeah.
with, who I am and how I live my life now. And I think there are other opportunities that have come up because somebody might have discovered, I did a coloring book a couple years ago that was all pinup boys. It was kind of like the old pinup girls from the 40s and 50s, but with male models. And the idea was to question, like, why was it considered sexy for women to do this, but not guys? And,
Yeah.
so I just have all this like kind of campy, work and like
Nice.
work that deals with serious, queer themes. And for me, I just think that the people who are drawn to that might discover my other paintings and have bought paintings that I know for a fact that has happened. So I
Yeah.
think, my advice to other artists when they ask me is just be yourself. Don't try to conform to what other people think you should be, because you have such a unique point of view, and if you can tap into that and channel that, that's what's going to resonate with people more than anything that you might do to try to please somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's always hard too. There's always a fine line because, you know, as an artist, you love to create and you want to do, you know, do your work, and you want to, you know, stand your ground. Like, this is who I am. This is my art. But then
Yes.
it's like, I got to eat.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
I got
You
to have a
do.
roof over my head. And so it's like, how do you deal with, like, you know, selling out or feeling like you're doing stuff that doesn't represent you, or you feel like you have to hide your gayness or your queerness.
Yeah.
And that's like
No,
a
it's not. And you know, it's every person's journey that they have to figure out for themselves. And I don't fault, you know, I know of
yeah,
other artists that do the exact thing that I've chosen not to do, that they will have an alter ego for certain things. And,
yeah,
you know, if that's what works for them, I do it. You know, I think
yeah.
everybody's response. My own career has been so crazy. I mean, truly, it has been wacky. My my very first art experience ever, where I got to go and present a painting to a group of people, was at the Tammy Faye Baker Memorial Celebration, and I was introduced by Larry
Wow,
King, and Cloris Leachman was standing there in the crowd, and all these people who were friends with
amazing.
Tammy Faye. And so, you know, there's nobody that's going to be following my career path. Everybody's got to find their own way to do this. But for me, just being genuine has always worked the best.
Yeah. Do you have a painting that kind of represents your journey, like your sober journey, or that kind of um, that you painted like before you started, or like now at this stage of your journey? Like,
You
do you
know,
have a painting?
it's interesting to, as an, when you're whenever you create probably anything, any
Mhm.
artwork of any kind, you can always just remember where you were and what you were feeling, what it was like when you did that. And so I look
Yeah.
back, I started taking painting lessons when I was 4 years old. I was so lucky. My parents found this wonderful art teacher, and I can look back at artwork from my whole life, the
You
past.
started painting at 4?
I did, yes. 4 years
Wow.
old. I oil painting. It was a.
Oh,
I was so
excuse
lucky.
me.
I know, like
You're like
seriously, right?
coloring in the lines
I'm
is
not messing with
so
those
beyond me.
watercolors.
I'm so beyond that. Like I could watercolor. Wow.
Exactly. No, I'm actually saying
Okay,
it kind
little
of as a
Paul.
joke because it means I've been smelling turpentine for 36 years. But no, I was so lucky because, you know, most kids, there are so many kids today that don't even have art classes in school. And here I
Yeah,
was at
tell
four
me
years
about it.
old with, you know, oil paint class every week. So, you know, in so many ways, I've been so privileged my whole life. But, you know, looking
Mhm.
back, I have so many different paintings that represent different periods and things. But one that comes to mind when you asked about just kind of like, you know, the being on a journey, I did a
Mhm.
painting. Um, it was, gosh, it's been a little while now, but it was about my childhood love of Dolly Parton, who we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And I painted the scene from The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy first lands in Oz and Glinda comes
Mm.
down in the bubble. But I replaced Dorothy with a little boy representing me standing there wearing like oversized red heels, because as a kid I always tried to go into my mom's closet and, you know, prance around in her shoes and
Didn't we
stuff.
all do that?
I think, yeah, I might not be the only one who's done
You're not. You're
that.
not.
And then uh, instead of Glinda, it's Dolly in the pink bubble. And then in the background, instead of Oz, it's kind of little things that represent Dollywood. And there's this road that kind of goes all the way back through the painting, the yellow brick road that goes back through it.
Yeah.
And I just kind of think about that painting because as a little kid, you know, I so idolized Dolly Parton and Cher and some of these like kind of iconic divas, and I had no idea why. Like, why, you know, why was this, you know, 4 year old boy in the Midwest just like trying to prance around his house wanting to be Dolly Parton? I certainly didn't know anybody else my age who felt that way. But it just makes me think about how so many things about my identity and who I am were just so deeply ingrained, and for me to
Mm.
connect with these figures who are so kind of over the top and celebrate their femininity in a way that's like kind of almost like to the point of being a caricature. But for me, it was like they were able to do something that I felt inside of me that I wasn't
Yeah.
able to express. And so I just really
Yeah.
connected with that. And a really cool thing happened when I got to do this painting recently for Dolly. Her creative director who I was working with said she actually has a print of that painting of the little boy in the heels. Apparently, she or somebody who works for her bought it from me a while years ago, and she has it hanging
Oh my
over her makeup
God.
stand. It's hanging over her makeup stand, and
That
she sees it every day, and just probably thinks about all those queer kids out there who are looking up to her and all the
that's
other
amazing.
I just think that's cool when your art can come full circle like that. But that's one of those paintings that's extra special to me for that reason, because it just reminds me of a lot of different stages of my life, just starting
Yeah.
out, not even being aware that there was a queer world, but just somehow like latching on to this, something that felt like hopeful. There was a
Yeah.
color and joy, and that was missing for me at first. So I think we just always
Yeah.
have to keep moving toward that.
Yeah. Eddie made a comment. Eddie's an amazing human. He's mom for us. And he says
Oh
his
yeah,
mom
yeah.
told him, you can be gay, but don't be super gay.
Uh-huh.
Did
Yeah.
you
No,
have
I've gotten
did you
that.
have that? And I mean, I guess you did you tell your family about becoming sober and doing that? So was that kind of like another coming out
It,
a
it
little bit?
was in a way, yeah, definitely. And telling friends and different people. I mean, I have so many friends who I've just spent, so many nights partying and drinking with and stuff. And so it makes you wonder, like, what are they going to think? And then like telling my mom because of everything that she'd already been through and everything
Yeah.
with that. But everybody, I think people who really care about you can see when you're making healthy choices,
Yeah.
and if they do really care, then they want the best for you. And if they don't,
Yeah.
then those aren't people whose opinions you need to worry about, as hard as it might be
Yeah.
sometimes. You have to
Yeah. And
follow your own path.
yeah. No, Eddie, we were doing a lot of videos from pre-pandemic. We
Hmm.
always do video, some sort of video when we do a photo shoot. Um, and what when we were working with Eddie, we wanted to say if we found like discrimination or just kind of like within the community of what do you think that we need to do better at. And he had mentioned about like we need to really focus on like there's so much drug use in our community, and it's hard because then sometimes you have to let go of friends, the people that you think are your friends,
Right.
because, and then you also see that they pull away from you
Right.
because they're like, oh, we have nothing in common anymore.
Right. Which, how sad is that? Like, to
Like,
think
how's
that
that? Yeah,
something that's in a glass or in a pill or something is going to somehow completely encapsulate a friendship. I mean,
yeah,
that's not what relationships are about.
exactly. And so that definitely, and I think we all have friends that are kind of like fair weather friends,
Hmm.
um, and you kind of learn that you're like, I'm like, who are my real friends? And
Yes.
especially if you're going through something that, that is important to you or to like to not have that support. And I think so many of us go through that where you're like, okay, I need support. And then you're like,
Right.
it's not there.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if
and
all of your,
you look for validation of who you are from
yes,
the other people around you, especially when you're first, starting out, or you're first entering into a new phase of something. I think it's very natural to kind of look around and see what are other people doing, and how do I want to
yeah,
shape myself to be like them. And like we were saying before, I mean, when I first came out, the only places it was, there weren't
the
really a
bar,
whole
yeah,
lot of other opportunities besides going to bars and stuff. So that was what, if I wanted to be around my people, that's where I went, and that's what I saw people
yeah,
doing and being celebrated for. And every night, like drag queens on the stage, just doing as many
yeah,
shots as possible, and all of that kind of stuff made me think, well, that's what I'm supposed to do if I'm a part of this world,
yeah.
and it's not.
But but if again, if all of your memories are at a bar,
Yeah. Right.
if, then and if you're always meeting up a bar with that person, then yes, we all want to go out to dinner with your friends and kind of catch up or grab a drink. But if that's all you got, like there's no vacations, there's no like going over to your house for dinner.
Yeah.
If it's only at the bar, then chat likely. Like maybe they're not the best friends you should have in your life.
Well, right. It's almost like you come out as whatever you are, and
Yeah,
and for many people, it's a process of you do that multiple times until you figure it out.
yeah,
And but then once you do that, there's still, for me at least, I felt like, okay, I'm out. I'm celebrating who I am. I'm an individual, but now I'm in this community where I want to fit in.
yeah,
It's almost like you kind of put yourself back into a box a little bit, and you feel like I've got to do this and this and this in order to be accepted by this new, community. And that's no better than where I was
yeah,
before.
yeah,
So I think it's always a process, but it all goes back to being comfortable enough in your own skin to recognize what
yeah,
works for you and what doesn't, and being able to say, no, I don't need that. I'm perfectly happy to find other people and go over here and do my own thing.
yeah. And I think sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves, or we can not see it, but like it's being your authentic self and living your truth is
Yeah.
you know it's so amazing. And so like my hats off, and I respect people who do it, and they're like, fuck you, this is me. Like if you're either with me or you're against me, or just like I don't need you.
Yeah.
And it's I love I love like so it's such
Yeah.
badass. It's such like
Yeah. I know. I
like
love that. I do.
do
And
it.
I think about, when I see people like that, I just think, gosh, how different would my life have been if I had, known people like that when I was a kid, who were just owning
Yeah,
their sexual identity or their gender identity. Would that have, made something click for me sooner? So I think
yeah,
that's another reason why it's always been so important to me to be really open and to include those themes in my work and to talk about,
yeah,
all of that. And also, though, now that young people do have access to more information, and they're questioning things and figuring things out sooner, I do worry about the young people who are in environments that are not accepting and not welcoming,
yeah,
because they don't have anybody in their circle who are
yeah,
modeling that for them. I've had so many young people reach out to me on Instagram because they've connected with a painting or something that I've done,
yeah,
and they've told me, in a lot of them, like living in different parts of the world where it's so much, even more difficult to
yeah,
have, to be something other than a, cisgender, cisgender straight person. They
yeah,
it's just opened my eyes to the reality that there are still so many people who are not, existing in spaces where they are
yeah,
able to be free and be open. And it just makes me want to do everything that I can to change that.
yeah. Especially now, because of the pandemic. It's like if you're trapped in a situation, and it could be from your family, or just kind of having roommates that you hardly ever saw, and like now you're stuck together in the same space.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I
so
know.
I
I can't
mean, yeah,
imagine being a teenager right now in 2021, living in like a home with homophobic parents and knowing that
yeah,
I was, gay. That's so hard. And my heart goes out to them. I just hope everybody knows, if there happens to be anybody watching this that is in that
yeah,
situation, that there is, a bigger world out there. And it sounds patronizing to say it gets better. People have been saying that forever. And I think that we need better solutions than just that. But I am living proof that, if you stay true to who you are and follow your own path, you will find your way. And
and
I don't know.
it might include Dolly Parton.
Right, like what could be better than that?
Can you tell me a little bit about the painting behind you?
Oh, sure. Yes, I do. I do a lot of big expressive portraits that kind of just evoke different moods. This was actually just kind of a made up person. A lot of times I work with models, or, people who
Yeah,
inspire the pieces. But this one, I was just sort of thinking about how we're all kind of looking inward more now, and we're kind of just being
mm, yeah,
inside ourselves, and how within ourselves, we have different colors and different aspects of our identity. So that's why I'm kind of playing with different colors
It's
of light
beautiful.
reflecting on the face and stuff. But I like to paint with a palette knife and make it really thick. And it's just a whole big messy scene in here when I'm working. It's a lot of fun.
It's
But I
really
haven't gotten any
beautiful.
paint on my play out clothes yet. So we're doing good.
um, I just want to say, I'm so glad we did this,
Me too.
and to be able to talk to you and like just like when you guys sent over images and that you were going to use for the like the graphics and stuff, you can just feel your energy like coming through from
Oh,
this.
good.
But like now seeing it like in person, it's like, oh,
Oh, well, likewise. I think you are awesome, and I love what you guys are doing. Anything that we can do to help support it and spread the word, I think
absolutely,
it's great. Because like it's such a great whole package. You get cute underwear, but you also are really making a statement about being inclusive and using the platform to educate and to
yeah,
kind of like the same thing that I was talking about trying to do with my paintings. You're creating those
yeah,
connections for people in a place where they might not be expecting it. And I think that's the
yeah.
most powerful thing you can do.
I think we should definitely think about how we could collab. We'd love to like do like some themes or something. Like we
Yeah.
E does every collection has a vibe and inspiration behind it.
Yeah.
And so we'd love to like see how we can coordinate something
Oh, I would
could
love that.
be
It's
from
always
the
been my dream. I've had my artwork like in so many different places now, and gallery walls and books and all kinds of things. But I'm like, one of these days I want to have my artwork on someone's ass. So if we could ever make that happen, just call me up. I'll do
yes, yes.
it.
We've definitely have collaborated with artists before, so like that definitely is we haven't done it in a while. It's something that we should definitely do again.
That would be fun.
Tell folks about Rejoin Masculinity,
Oh
just in case
yeah,
they
so
want
it's a
to
monthly
sign up.
figure drawing. Yeah, it's a monthly figure drawing workshop that my friend Bryden Sharon and I do the last Sunday of each month. It's virtual, so anybody anywhere can join us. And Bryden is an incredible artist himself and a trans activist, very inspiring person. I just knowing him, he managed the art studio that I joined when I lived in Ohio. That's how I met him. And I just instantly felt like here's somebody who is so comfortable in his own skin. And it's
Hmm.
inspired me to feel more comfortable in my own skin. I never really imagined that I'd be doing, figure drawing things. I've taught figure drawing, but I never thought I'd be modeling for it
Yeah.
myself. But it's just, we're just creating a space that's all about body positivity and where everyone is included, whatever your idea of masculinity is welcome. But each month Bryden and I pose, and then we also have guest models sometimes that join us and pose. You don't have to be an artist to do it. Everybody's welcome. And it's really just more about kind of coming together and looking. We talk a lot about, different concepts of masculinity and
Hmm.
how in our own lives we have gone, against what the traditional norms might have, what we might have thought they were and what that was like. So it's drawing, but it's more than that. And so anybody
Yeah.
that wants to join us, we would love for you to come. It's you can find out all of that at redrawmask.com. We have a sliding scale, so you don't have to pay whatever you can afford. Most important thing to us is just come and draw and hang
Hmm.
out and join the club.
Yes, definitely. And I love that. I love that there is a conversation about it, with the art, um,
Yes.
and so that's what I really like. 'Cause I feel like, especially within our, community that you mentioned before, it's like, when I first came out, it was either you were, kind of like that Tom of Finland gym kind of
Yes,
vibe,
right. I've never
or
been
you were like
that.
really, really flamboyant. There was like no, there was nothing in between. It was just kind of like me.
Yes.
And then definitely that, I definitely didn't find, other. It took me some time to kind of find some other like, POC folks,
Right.
um,
I bet.
that were
I can't
gay. And
imagine.
then I kind of find my tribe, but like, there was still like, there was no it wasn't as diverse as now.
Uh-huh. Right. I bet. I bet not. I mean, like I told you, when I came out, everybody that was being featured looked like me. So I'm like, oh, I've arrived. And then, over time, I realized, God, what a
Yeah,
privileged asshole I was by not recognizing, like, we need to change
yeah.
this. So, because everybody deserves to see themselves and to feel like they belong.
Yes. Okay, we have 26 seconds. I just want to thank you again
Oh, thank you.
so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope that there's by somehow, some way, we'll be able to see each other in person. But for
Yeah.
now, I give you a big virtual hug.
Right back
Thank you.
at you.
Thank
Mwah.
you so much. Um, this is the beginning. I'm sure we'll find other ways to collaborate. But just thank you so much for your support.